first thing I actually saw was my Mimi, who had died a couple years back, and that's how I knew I was in heaven. It was really, really bright, and I sat on Jesus' lap, and it was kind of like being suspended above the universe. I asked him if I could stay, and he said, "No, Annabelle, I have plans for you on earth that you could not fulfill in heaven."
It was a quiet Texas afternoon, the kind where the sky seems too big, the breeze too soft, and the world feels far too peaceful for tragedy to even whisper. But that day, something extraordinary happened. A little girl, fragile and fighting for her life, would fall 30 feet headfirst into a hollow tree and come back not only alive, but healed, with a message that would leave doctors speechless and hearts forever changed. This is the true story of Annabel Beam, a young girl whose near-death experience would lead her straight into the arms of Jesus and back. Before we dive into this powerful journey, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We bring you real stories of faith, miracles, and God's unshakable presence that will move your heart and strengthen your walk. Now let's enter the life of a little girl who came face to face with heaven. Annabel Beam was like any other bright-eyed girl, joyful, curious, full of life, but something inside her body was quietly broken. From the age of 4, she battled intense stomach pain, vomiting, and life-threatening bloating. Her mother, Christy Beam, watched helplessly as her daughter's light slowly dimmed under the weight of 2 rare and incurable digestive disorders: enteral hypomotility and pseudo-obstruction motility disorder. Her intestines simply didn't work. She couldn't digest food like a normal child. She often relied on feeding tubes and medication. Some days, she was too weak to walk. She was trapped in a body that wouldn't let her live the life her soul longed to live. Doctors tried everything. Hospitals became second homes. And through it all, Annabel kept asking the question that no parent ever wants to hear. Why did God make me this way? Christy tried to hold it together, but deep down, she was breaking. She prayed, she begged, she cried, she questioned, she whispered into the dark, "God, are you even there?" Even in her worst days, Annabel still smiled. Her spirit somehow stayed tender. She loved animals. She loved to laugh with her sisters. And she loved to climb the big ancient cottonwood tree that stood on their family's property, its arms reaching wide like an invitation to rise above it all. One afternoon in 2011, the tree would become the center of something divine. Annabel and her sister decided to climb its hollow trunk, giggling and reaching for the sky. But suddenly, without warning, a branch gave way. Annabel fell, 30 feet, head first, into the dark, narrow core of the tree. Emergency crews were called. Firefighters, paramedics, neighbors, everyone rushed to help. They feared the worst. No one could imagine a child surviving a fall like that, let alone headfirst into a confined space. But somehow, Annabel was still alive. For hours, she was trapped. Inside that tree, the world outside faded. But according to Annabel, something miraculous happened during that time. She left her body. She later described being surrounded by overwhelming light. There was no pain, no fear, just peace. And in that moment, she saw heaven. "I was in Jesus' lap," she told her parents. "I sat on his lap, and he told me that I was going to be okay." She said she saw her great-grandmother, who had passed away. She described flowers that don't exist on earth. She said Jesus told her that her body would be healed, and that when she returned, she would be fine. And then, just like that, she woke up. When Annabel was finally rescued and examined at the hospital, everyone expected trauma, fractures, brain injury, something. But the scans were clear. No damage, no concussion, no internal bleeding, nothing. And then came the unthinkable. Her stomach pain vanished. She began eating normally, foods she had never been able to digest. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Doctors were baffled. Tests were repeated again and again. Every trace of the disorder was gone. The same girl who had been living on feeding tubes in constant agony was now laughing, playing, and eating like any other child. Not a single explanation could be found in medicine. Her mother wept. This wasn't just a recovery, this was a divine reversal, a healing that defied science. Annabel didn't want the attention. She was still a child, still quiet, still gentle, but she knew what she had seen. And as time passed, she grew stronger in sharing her experience. She talked about heaven, not as a dream, but as a place more real than earth. She described the feeling of safety, the presence of Jesus, and the promise that she would be okay, and she was. Her story was eventually told in a book by her mother, titled Miracles from Heaven, which was later made into a Hollywood film starring Jennifer Garner. But beyond the headlines, beyond the cameras, the truth of Annabel's story is found in the ordinary moments. The days she wakes up pain-free, the family dinners, the quiet gratitude of a miracle unfolding in real life. Annabel's healing didn't just restore her health, it restored her family's faith. Her mother, Christy, once questioned God in the hospital halls. She once cried in silence, wondering why her child had to suffer. But now she stands as a witness. She knows God hears, even when he's quiet. She knows Jesus saves, even when it seems he's far. Their story has become a lifeline for others, for parents whose children are suffering, for believers walking through long, dark valleys, for anyone asking, "Where is God?" The answer comes gently, through the voice of a young girl who met Jesus in a tree. It's easy to feel overwhelmed in this world, easy to believe that miracles are distant or rare. But Annabel Beam's story reminds us of a greater truth. God still heals, God still speaks, and heaven is closer than we think. It also reminds us that sometimes the deepest miracles are not only in the healing, but in the presence of God during the pain. Annabel wasn't just healed physically. Her story brought healing to countless others who now believe again, because of a little girl's fall and a Savior's arms that caught her in eternity. If you are in pain today, if your heart is broken or your faith is running dry, remember Annabel. Remember that when she was at her weakest, heaven came close. When no doctor could help, Jesus did. And he didn't just heal her body, he held her in his lap and reminded her of who she was, loved, chosen, and whole. Maybe he's doing the same for you right now. If this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe. We share true miracles, divine encounters, biblical discoveries, and real experiences that will ignite your spirit and deepen your walk with God. Let this channel be your place of inspiration and unshakable hope.